Hey guys, welcome to episode 1 of 12 Feet Deep. My name is Antonio, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Derek Orman
Yo.
and Miles Lamore.
Hello.
You guys know what's scary?
What's that?
How, like, when you fucking die, nothing changes. Like, you know how when, like, a celebrity or some well-known official dies, you'll see memorial posts and shit, but, like, after 2 weeks, they just sort of stop? I mean, like, obviously that's a normal time frame for the buzz to die down, but think about how that applies to you. If you died today, like, you'd be mourned and all, but the rest of the world continues as if you were literally nothing. I don't know if that upsets me or, like, kind of just fucks with my head, but, like, think about the people you would have met but never did because you died. They'll never know you would have, like, crossed their path and potentially impacted their lives and became a permanent part of it. They're going to just live their life, and instead of you being a crucial element in it, you'll never be as much as a thought in their head.
Well, I guess it just depends on what kind of impact you make on the world.
What do you mean?
Like, if you do something worthwhile that benefits other people, not just kind of like living an average life where you just kind of go about your day and don't really affect others that aren't immediately around you.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm just, when I die, I'm just scared of missing out on things. Like,
I agreed. Oh, sorry. Continue.
No, so I just kind of want to, it's when, like, I don't know, like, you know Friends?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like with that
Yeah.
TV show, like if they ever were to have a reunion, I would not want to be dead and miss out on that.
Fair enough. Okay.
Well, yeah, I guess you got a good point.
Because, like, I mean, this kind of sounds personal, but when my uncle passed away, one of his favorite TV shows actually got recreated from when he was a kid, Lost in Space.
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, me either.
But what do you mean? Where were you going with?
It got recreated, and he missed out on it because he passed
And he missed
away.
it. Oh, okay, I got you. You see, I don't know. I think that it's probably a little selfish, but, like, I don't want to die because I think I agree with you. I don't want, like, people to get to do all the cool shit that's gonna come out. Like, I'd be salty as hell if I died and then 3 months afterwards they're like, that's sad, but full dive virtual reality is a thing now. I'd be pretty pissed because, like, I think we're lucky to be born when we are because we're in a time of technical advancement has gotten so crazy that from the time that we were born to the time now, technology has advanced in like a multiplicative rate. It multiplies its percentage of advancement every year. It gets faster and faster.
But if you think about it like this, you know, another 1,000 years from now, I mean, 1,000 years from now, we could have all died off due to a war or something, but also 1,000 years from now, the technology is going to be so much different than it is now.
And you also gotta consider, like, in terms of like missing out on things when you die. It's like you gotta think: is it a premature death, or is it like dying when you're like 80 of old age? You know, like if you were to die in a car accident or something tomorrow, or if you were to die of cancer when you're like 80.
I mean, I do think it's different. I mean, like when you're 80, things you miss out on, it's as hard of a miss out. Because I feel like when we're in so old age that we're literally like bedridden, I don't know if we'll be as upset about missing cool technological advancements when we weren't going to be like functioning enough to even enjoy it in the first place.
See, I don't know. I'd rather live to 100 and see full dive VR and get a chance to do it. Even if I was so out of shape, I'd break my hip. If that's what killed me, I'd be fine with it.
But at the same time, you also can't know how you'll feel towards things like that when you're 80 or 100.
No, I agree. Never mind. Nah, he's right. Derek's right.
Technology's my life, so.
All right.
I fear death. so I'll say I want technology, but even if technology does nothing, I never want to fucking die. Because the idea of just not being here anymore I'm not okay with that. Because I don't know.
What's that thing you were talking about with the void? Being what? Okay, what's worse? What's worse? Being stuck in nothingness, or being stuck in basically blackness with your thoughts?
Okay, Miles, here I'm gonna go. Derek and I had this conversation. I'm gonna get you on the same page. So you know how like the concept. So in this scenario, we're talking about life after death, not including like heaven or a god.
Okay.
It's like, so the concept of like the scientific approach to death, where when you die, you cease to exist. It's not like you're in darkness. It's just you're nothing. Like how when you're sleeping and you don't have a dream and you don't remember it at all, you have no recollection, you just were gone for a couple hours. It's the concept of that being life after death if there's no heaven. And it's just, that's what, for eternity, never having nothing for the rest of eternity. But what would be worse? Would that be worse? Or would it be worse to have consciousness after death, but it's just like you're just surrounded by darkness and you're just alone with your thoughts for complete and total eternity?
Well, I think nothingness would be better, because just being alone in blackness with your thoughts, that'd be fucking terrible.
Yes, but at the same time, you'd still have something, you know? Instead of being gone forever. I admit you'd go completely insane, and that'd basically be a living hell, but at the same time, I think it's more scary having nothing.
Well, I mean, to a certain degree, I agree with you, but like, I just kind of think more towards the scientific approach after death. I really think that nothing happens. We would just really cease to exist.
It makes the most sense, you know, because
like the whole idea of like heaven and hell, it just doesn't make any sense with me.
You see, I don't know where I stand on that, because as I've gotten a little bit, like now I'm 20, so I'm still like very young, but as I've gotten past elementary school and high school, and now that I'm living alone, being in the Navy and all, I've developed more of a scientific approach to my thoughts on death. But I also, whenever I'm in my most stressful points, and whenever I feel like I'm being, in my personal life or in my work life, being like I'm pushed to my limit, I find myself praying to God, even though most of the time I think I don't believe in a God. I find myself looking to a higher being whenever I feel alone and at my breaking.
I mean, that I can understand, but I mean, well, I don't know what your upbringing was like, but like I was like raised in a Catholic family, so like I was taught to believe in God, but it just kind of went away after a while. Like the whole sense of it just kind of disappeared with me. And so that's part of the reason why I don't really believe in heaven and hell. It's just it just doesn't really make any sense, like this whole thing.
Same with me. I was forced to go to CCD once a week for,
yeah.
How long was it?
It was like 6 years, probably more.
Yeah, it was probably
definitely longer than that, bro.
It went up to like 8th grade, right?
Yeah, it was like
I think it was up to like when
10
we were in,
years.
like sophomores in high school.
Yeah, so it was pretty long, but you know, I'd say I don't want to go. My parents would flip shit. Then they forced me, and it was just, sometimes I'd go and I'd be in like a religious type of, you know, mood, I guess you'd say, but it's kind of,
be feeling this coursing through your dirty little veins.
I just don't like being forced to do it. I think that kind of turned me off of it a bit.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And the other thing is just kind of like the idea of blind faith. Like, because there's really not, like, there's proof, like, physical proof that Jesus himself existed, but there's no real physical proof that there is a God. It's basically just a book.
So it makes you think
that
like
says
there was a person named the concept of Jesus existing, and just the way people thought back then, like over time, these stories were passed down, and then maybe kind of morphed over time.
The other thing is, I'm pretty sure I heard somewhere that the people who wrote the Bible actually it was like a few hundred years after the death of Jesus, so they were all stories passed down to him. Because like it was a fact, Jesus did exist. Like they're records, like records from the Roman Empire of his crucifixion and everything.
I was there.
You were there?
Okay, anyway. Okay, but what's the difference between the Old Testament and the New Testament?
Yep.
Well, the Old Testament is basically, I think, what the Jewish faith like worships or believes in, and then the New Testament is just kind of like, because like Christians, they follow the Old Testament but also the New Testament.
But isn't there, I haven't read the Bible at all, but
yeah, me either.
In the Bible, isn't there an Old and New Testament within one Bible?
Yes.
So you're saying
is it like the director's cut?
I guess the Old Testament's kind of like the prequel, you could say.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. That stuff confuses me, because it's like, maybe it's just because I never properly went. I didn't go when I growing up. I did sports, primarily wrestling, and with wrestling, the main thing is like Sunday tournaments was the thing. So growing up, I didn't really go to church. So maybe that's why I have the views I have, and how easily I was able to, once I was out of the house. Like how easily I was able to change and be like, well, I don't think I believe in God, was because I didn't have a foundation of a belief in the first place.
Yeah, but me and Miles had that foundation for years, and we were still kind of, once it stopped, we kind of just went our separate ways. Like, there'll be days where I wake up and like I'll feel religious and I want to start going to church or stuff like that, but it's like we both came from a separate spot. You know, you're saying you went from you had no one forced it on you, and then me and Miles both had it forced on us.
Oh.
And we all kind of ended up, and it's kind of funny how, like, Miles, did you go to CCD?
Yes, I did.
The same time frame as Derek?
Yeah, we were in the same class.
Same class.
Oh shit, okay. So it's crazy how like you guys had an extremely heavy focus on it, and I had zero focus on it, and we all kind of ended up in the same place of like, I don't fucking know.
You know, but maybe it's kind of our age, you know, the way we grew up in a technological advance period. Maybe it's because there's a lot of, like, my sisters included, all the people, like most people we went to High Point with were not religious. And
like a select few, but
yeah, like maybe it's kind of just the time we grew up in with the age we are right now.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, with the age of computers, it kind of like gives you the power to like question reality, like question what's really possible.
Yeah, but
you know?
Even years ago, they had, you know, science was always a thing. People were always questioning and doing like experiments and all that other stuff. But
well, yeah, I agree with you there, but I think like it's kind of like pushed to a new limit now, because like to me, it even still kind of boggles my mind that like so much information can be put into something that's literally the size of like a CD case, like a hard drive.
Even smaller now.
I know, like it's like that still like boggles my mind.
We can fit the amount of information on a piece of metal that's smaller than a fucking penny. We can fit 3,000 times the amount of information than we could have on the first computer less than 100 years ago.
Yeah, and it's insane. Like you think back, like the first computers, I think from like the 1940s, like I think they took up like 2 whole rooms, and
it was like 150 fucking megabytes.
I think even
like,
less than that. I think more like 10.
It was something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Even in the past 10, 15 years, you can see the sizes of the phones getting so much thinner. and like they might be getting bigger, but they're also getting really thin, you know?
I mean, you can even think like now we have smartphones. You think about like when we were little kids and like we were so excited to have flip phones where you gotta press the button like 7 times to get the letter S.
Yeah.
That's what used to excite us.
Yeah, my first phone was called I believe it was a Samsung. It was called the Juke. It was a fucking switchblade. It was the shape of a switchblade. It was a rectangle, and when you flicked it, it flipped out like a goddamn switchblade. And it didn't have buttons on it. It had a little wheel that you had to spin around. And it started at A, went to Z, and then went to all of the like special characters.
Remember the well, I forget the exact name of it, but was it that LG phone with the slide up keyboard?
Like the BlackBerry?
No, like the
one that I used to have?
Yeah.
Like that? Yeah, oh, the Cosmos, yeah.
Yeah, those my first phone was my first phone, and that was, to me,
that was your first phone. What the fuck? You had that phone until sophomore year?
Yeah, I did.
I had that until 6 months ago.
No, actually, I had that phone until senior year because...
Yeah, you did. Holy shit.
When I started working, that's when I had the money to get a smartphone. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I had the money. I just chose to wait. It's like, I don't need it.
Yeah,
I thought that too. I remember.
He just got his last year, right?
Yeah, like in October or something like that.
I remember when I was in 8th grade, I used to see everyone with smartphones, and I was sitting down in class texting because it was like the end of the year, so our teacher was just watching movies. It was when we did half days. I remember the girl next to me. She was like, "Hey, Miss Sarah, nice phone." I was like, "Thanks," but I remember thinking like, I remember sitting out like my parents used to talk about it with me, and I'd be like, "Well, I don't need a smartphone. Like, what would I use it for?" Like, I just text anyway, so I'm just going to have it and just still text. Like, that's all I would do it for. I genuinely thought that the point of having a phone was to just text and make calls. I don't even do that. I don't talk to my, like, I use my phone to check Snapchat and apps. I don't know. It's just, like, it's crazy that once I feel like it's just, sometimes I'll think about that, but then I'll think like what that like entails and how you don't think you need these things, but once you realize the convenience and accessibility that this technology brings, you can't go back. And the thing is, like, now that we can't go back, it's almost like I don't know. I think about this stuff a lot, but technology, like, now that we're completely fully embraced in it, I just want it to go further.
I mean, the thing is, we can go back, though. It would just be a case of the entire world would have to change for the worse for us to go back, like nuclear annihilation, or all our resources are drained up.
Well, yeah, if we got forced to go back, but I mean, the quality of life it brings, it shows when my internet provider around here sometimes isn't the most reliable, and when the internet goes down, I literally feel like I'm a fucking caveman. And maybe that, like, sometimes I think, like, does that say something bad about me? Or does it, I don't know if it's like a lot of times you see people will say stuff like, oh, you're just addicted to the technology. But I think more it's just that, like, the addition of all this crazy technology has shown just how much easier and better our lives can be. It's not a matter of, like, I'm addicted. It's just a matter of life. It's better. It is a better and more accessible life. I'm in the Navy. I live 10,000 miles away from my parents. But if I want to talk to my mom and see how she's doing, I can pick up this little box and check how my mom is doing. I don't think when that goes away, I don't think that's a matter of, oh, I'm addicted. I need this, not rely on it so much. I think it's a matter of it opens up opportunities that would not be available without it.
Well, I mean, you could really. I mean, I think the
No, okay. So if you go back to what Miles was saying before, like with nuclear fallout, like
nuclear.
What?
Nuclear.
Didn't I say that?
You said nuclear.
Whatever. Anyway, so if
your kids are Miles,
if that were to happen, like say all the internet went down around the world, right? So then what are we left with? We're gonna be back to feeling like you were saying, cavemen. Like, it's not feasible to be addicted to technology.
I mean, there would be there would be a kind of a learning curve to it. Like, we'd go from being used to this kind of thing to having technology to all of a sudden not having it.
You know, I think. Continue. Sorry.
And I just think it would just be difficult for a lot of people to adjust to it. But at the same time, I feel like it has to come to an end at some point, because you could almost say like it's kind of a golden age, like a golden age of technology. But every golden age kind of comes to an end at some point.
Yeah, like the Renaissance.
Exactly.
But I don't want to go back.
Doesn't mean we have a choice.
You know what's interesting though? I was listening to a podcast the other day with Neil deGrasse Tyson when he was on the Joe Rogan show, and he was talking about losing knowledge, like think of the over the course of time, stuff can happen to. They were talking about the pyramids.
Yeah.
So they were talking about like how did they have the technology back then to do that, but at the same time they were also talking about they might have had some technology or stuff we didn't know about. They might have been more advanced than we thought, you know, but because of some natural disasters or things that happen that wipe out parts of villages or things like that, we could actually lose knowledge over time.
Well, yeah, of course that's possible. Because, I mean, think about it. Think about all the things you do in a day, like thousands of things, like every little thing, everything from like going to get your mail to moving your finger around. You do thousands of things every day, and do you remember every single one of them?
No.
It's the same thing over the course of thousands of years. We forget things, and knowledge and information gets lost.
They actually had to find, they lost perspective, like art perspective drawings, that people used to be able to draw in perspective years and thousands of years ago. And then it had to be relearned during the Renaissance.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what do you mean? Like the how to draw in different perspectives?
Yes, that was actually lost and had to be relearned during the Renaissance.
You mean, so it's like how today you can see like YouTube videos of people drawing photorealism.
Yeah.
The skills and like techniques people used to that, like it would be as if everyone who knew how to draw in a photorealistic fashion forgot how to, and it was just like me with no knowledge of it having to learn.
Yeah, like think back. Okay, think of it like this.
That's fucked. Fucking write that shit in a book. God damn it.
Well, it is, but I'm saying.
Well, apparently not. We lost the fucking rent. We lost perspective. But continue.
If it were to happen now, say an asteroid came and wiped us all out, right? Then all of our technologies wouldn't work. The human race would be extinct, and then say hundreds of thousands of years from now, life starts growing again. There's a new type of human being, right? They're going to go back and find all of our stuff, but they might not find what perspective drawings are, you know? So 300,000 years from now, they might not learn to draw in perspective until later.
So
I mean, it kind of makes sense. Like, you could even think of it on like a smaller scale. Like, say like someone figures out like I know it's a stupid thought, but like say someone just thinks up the idea of like how to cure cancer, but they never think to write it down or put it on the internet or anything, and they happen to die, but it's what all their work, everything they figured out was never documented, and so that information just effectively lost. And so you got to think, like, thousands of years ago, all this information that they had, like, even if they wrote it down, like, it wouldn't necessarily be preserved, because you got to think, like, all the lost civilizations from history, like the Greeks, like the ancient Egyptians, all that, like, while we know they existed and there's pieces left from that time, there's still plenty of things that were lost, because I mean, eventually the whole civilization, those civilizations just kind of disappeared, and you know.
Wait, are you talking about like artifacts?
Artifacts, yeah. Oh yeah, artifacts. So like, think about like in a museum, like every artifact that we have, like for every single artifact that we have in a museum, there's thousands that are just missing, totally gone from the earth. maybe not yet found, but it goes the same with all the information, all the technology that they had back then. Do we necessarily know where it all is? Or what exactly they had? Because we only know what they had based on what we've found.
When you say it like that, it seems like there could be a lot of things we haven't found, you know?
Exactly. Like I remember I saw this thing a while back that apparently there's some evidence that that I think the ancient Mesopotamians might have actually had light bulbs, supposedly, like using lemon juice and copper, and somehow that creates electricity, which could be used to create light, somehow.
Really?
Yeah.
The fuck?
I know, right?
Antonio, you gonna talk?
Yeah, sorry. I was just, I don't know. It's like you're talking a lot about like the loss of knowledge, and I was thinking, and I used an example a couple minutes ago about like how if today we forgot stuff, and I said like, oh, like those videos on YouTube, if all those people just forgot how to do it, but then I thought about like how if it would even be possible for that to ever happen again, spare some like World War III or asteroid colliding, or there's some apocalyptic event aside from that, like, because they talk about the concept of like as years go on with technology, if we ever get to the point where we literally are able to combine our consciousness with AI, with technology, and we have computers literally attached to our brain, it's like there's never a possibility of losing information again, because if we're all connected to a computer, we all have access to everything at all points in time.
I think that well, actually, what do you think that's a good idea or a bad idea?
I'm a big advocate for future technology. I absolutely love the idea of progress in the world, and I'm a huge supporter of anything progressing with technology like that.
Well, actually, are you talking about uploading consciousness into a computer or having something put into your brain to give you access to knowledge?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think either one of those are pretty similar concepts.
They are, but they're also different. If you were able to upload consciousness into a computer, then technically you'd be able to become a robot with all your memories. And if you were to have just something implanted in your brain to give you knowledge of like everything that's out on the internet, so you'd have instant knowledge of everything, kind of like a photographic memory, those are two separate things.
But I mean, wouldn't having like kind of a computer in your brain also be able to corrupt your brain, like the same way a virus can corrupt your computer?
Oh, actually, people could actually hack into it.
Yeah, so people could effectively hack into your brain.
That can fuck right off.
I mean, yeah, that's my main concern about that.
Fuck that shit. Fucking go into a computer, and then some websites like, actually, we're gonna blue screen. Can you blue screen? What happens if you're a robot and you fucking blue screen?
Because I mean, the thing is, it's one thing to lose a computer to a virus, like, because that's replaceable. I mean, yeah, you lose all your information you got on there, but you can still always buy a new one. Your brain, you only get one.
Well, not if we're able to upload it into machines.
You could copy if you became a part of a computer, you could just copy your paste your brain onto like another hard drive.
But you'd probably have to. I mean, you could have like a backup with.
And then there'd be two of you. What if both of them were running?
But actually, it's also,
bro, what the fuck?
It's also kind of a question of, would the computer be one with your brain, or would it just be connected so they kind of worked in conjunction with each other, or would they all be?
If your computer was the brain, you could potentially be immortal, and I really like that because I don't want to die.
But only your brain would be immortal, not necessarily your body.
I don't care though. I just want my conscience.
No, that's the thing. They could make a humanoid robot that you could control with the mind they upload into the computer. You know, like they could give you limbs so you can walk around.
And you could have save states.
And they'd have to figure out a way to add senses, though. Like if you can't touch, if you can't.
I mean, if we're uploading our consciousness to a brain and it's literally importable and exportable to other bodies, I think they'll get the senses down.
But like, would it be effectively like replacing your joints and everything with like robotic parts?
Yes.
Or would it be like reinvigorating your nervous system, so that way everything still works the way it would, except it's run by a computer?
It would have to be replace your entire body with mechanical parts. You know?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would just be. I don't like either way, you know? Like, I'm pro technology and I'd love to be immortal, but if you get hacked, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like if I go outside and some fucking kid shoots me in the face, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Like, I think the only way you could really bring yourself back with, assuming we had that kind of technology, like if you're like shot in the head and killed, like I don't think you'd be able to salvage it. But like if you died of natural causes, maybe.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. You could have like backups.
And
You could have save states, so like when Kathy cheats on you, you can just go back and forget about it.
But here's another pro for it. It would cure all diseases. There'd be no Alzheimer's. If you were a full mechanical machine, there'd be no cancer.
Yes, but then would viruses become the diseases? Would it be like, be careful, this technology is spreading? This virus is spreading because like would there like end up being like airborne viruses? And then there would just end up being like your chance of dying right now. So like we'd think we'd be immortal, but it would just be like the world would adapt and there would be airborne viruses the same way there's airborne diseases now. So fucking nothing would be different.
Actually, if you think about it, like that probably would be possible, like through wireless technology, like
Wi-Fi AIDS.
There's viruses now that can just
fucking
be passed through Wi-Fi and everything else. So you could easily get hacked. But what about the thing is that technology is still a few years away. But self-driving cars, those are right around the corner, and those are the exact same type of principle. You know, what if those could easily get hacked too?
That's true.
That's kind of scary. Yeah. I mean, I'm personally an advocate for self-driving cars. I think they're great because I like the idea of. A lot of times I think when there comes a lot of concepts on Earth, it's like, yes, this would be perfect if it weren't for human error. Human error fucks up so much shit.
Yeah.
So the idea of like removing human error from one of the leading causes of death in the world, car accidents.
But yes, so AI can help with minimizing human errors, and AI is extremely precise. But if you think about it like this, someone could do a mass destruction hack on all of the cars on a highway and then pile them all up, you know? That could be thousands of people dead.
Yeah. And if you think, like, even AI can't be completely perfect. I mean, I don't think there's a single program that's existed on Earth that didn't have some kind of glitch or malfunction or anything.
No, it's true. There'll definitely still be accidents, but it's going to be a lot less minimal compared to what humans, like there's a car accident, every like 5 seconds with humans? So maybe with AI it'd be a lot better. Maybe a car accident a day. But if it's hacked, it's fucked.
Yeah, there's...
It's like there's one car accident, but it's the entire fucking Golden Gate Bridge got overloaded and they made it way too much. Every car in the fucking city got forced to drive onto the Golden Gate Bridge and it collapses. Then they're probably like, that's not gonna happen because.
Continue.
No, I was shit posting. Continue.
Okay, but you also got to think like how's the AI gonna work, like working in conjunction with human error? Because even if self-driving cars come out, not every single person who drives is gonna get one. So there's still gonna be normal people driving normal cars on the road.
I heard that they're planning on making highways. So they'll be like, say there's a 4-lane highway. The 3 lanes to the left are gonna be for self-driving cars, and then the one on the right's gonna stay for normal driving cars.
The idea, self-driving cars could eliminate traffic.
It could, but
how would that make, like, having the self-driving cars be on the left though? Because like at least in America, like most highways, the exits are on the right.
Yes, they'd have to rearrange some stuff.
It would require extreme infrastructure changes. But I mean,
unless they could also just pass a law to make it everybody has to drive a self-driving car.
Yeah, but you know that technology is going to be expensive. Not everybody's going to be able to afford it. They couldn't just do that.
True.
I mean, it would take a long time. It would have to get to a point where it was just every car had it.
Yeah, but when it becomes like 80-90% of people are just using self-driving cars, they're gonna make it only legal for self-driving cars, you know? And for the people that are still driving normal cars, like I said, they're gonna figure out a way to keep it minimal with where they drive.
Well, you know, like when we're talking about self-driving cars, like the main advocates of this obviously is right now are Teslas, and they're the main, like almost every Tesla being made now has self-driving features, and each new model has more in-depth self-driving features.
It has self-driving features, but is there an actual Tesla that is self-driving right now?
It's not fully complete. Like you still can. It's not like you can't drive the car. But it's like an autopilot mode that assists you, and like if you're not busting if it's about to be like a head-on collision and you're not busting your ass to get out of the way, the Tesla will literally override and swerve out of the way.
Yeah,
that happens.
There's also, like, even with other car companies, like they have adaptive cruise control, which effectively there's a sensor at the front of the car that like it works like a sonar. Like you set the distance that you want to stay back from the car ahead of you, and it adjusts. It raises and lowers the speed depending on how fast the car ahead of you is going.
I think it's really cool that we're like going in that direction. To like, I don't know. Some people say it's like the robots are gonna fucking take over, but I really like the idea of like automation and just technology like fusing itself into making things better. Like I was saying before, with like how now phones have gotten us to the point of where life is better. I want to see us get even further to the point of life being better. Like with Tesla, like at the top of that, the CEO, it's Elon Musk, and he's not just doing, like, he's progressing autopilot cars, but he's also working to make the Starlink satellite system to provide an internet access for people who wouldn't have it and to create more competition. It's literally a fucking...
Well, how's that gonna work? Is that like a wireless internet?
I'm not really sure what the Starlink is.
I'm not entirely sure, but it's literally a grid of satellites to provide Wi-Fi service for fucking space. So like an option.
So satellite internet.
Yes. And I just think like this man is just taking like all the crazy shit we like. There's the type of thing like we would think about when we're having a talk like this. We'd laying down, we're like, what if we gave internet to the world by fucking shooting it from space? And then he was just like, you know what? You're fucking right, man. Let's do it. And I just like, I want that. I think it's so cool that he's doing these things that you would see in sci-fi movies 20 years ago. And now it's just like, it's starting to happen. Like we're actually starting, like people say like, when is the future? And obviously like this, like the future is never, because it's always in the future. But like, I think we're actually starting to see the first bits of like the true futuristic flying cars, like the shit that you would see in movies when people would talk about like the future. I think we're actually starting to get to that definition, that image.
In terms of flying cars, I don't know if we'll ever be there though.
Well, I don't think we should have flying cars, to be honest.
Because it's a bad idea now. Because like I mean, yeah, technology's changed over like the last 100 years, but like people have experimented with flying cars in the past, and it's never really been
I don't
able to
even
work.
think
'Cause,
like
you,
the thing is like I don't know if that even creates like that was just like that's like a cool sci-fi shit, but I don't know if that's even necessary. Like I think there might be a better solution.
Well, think of it like this. So we have the technology to make flying cars. We do. We could make
Yes.
flying cars.
yes,
We have helicopters, we have planes, we have drones. We have the technology to do that.
What is a plane but anything more than a flying school bus?
Anyway, so we have the technology. But think of how loud each of one of those things is, you know? Do you really want a flying car that sounds like a helicopter? And not only that, you know how much more dangerous it would be if it ran out of power? Like a normal car, if it breaks, you can glide over to the side of the road. If a flying car breaks, you're crashing.
yeah, because I mean, effectively, the average commuter wouldn't be a driver anymore; they'd be a pilot.
Yeah.
And, like they'd be learning a totally different, much more complicated set
I
of
don't even
skills.
trust people to park. People can't even park. Without people can't literally park into a rectangle without taking someone else's window off. And we're gonna be like, yeah, we're gonna give you a fucking aircraft.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's why I think flying cars aren't going to happen.
Yeah.
We have the self-driving cars; those will eventually happen, and it's just that's probably the better way to go about it. You know?
I mean, 'cause,
yeah,
like I even heard that like most airlines, like most commercial jetliners, are mostly automated now. But even then, there's just such little room for error that just the average person, I don't think it could work for.
I mean, Elon Musk is doing that. The tunnel thing?
yeah. Well, it was just a proposed idea. It was like instead of I forget what bridge it was. It was a bridge that goes into a city, and it was one of the only ways to get into the city. And he proposed a series of tunnels to create more lanes. It was more to what?
I thought he was trying to take tunnels from LA area to New York. Isn't that what he was planning to do?
I thought he was already in the process of digging a tunnel under LA right now.
Oh shit, you're right.
Yes, he already has started the process. But where is it supposed to go?
I think it was like the concept of like creating tunnels.
Like a subway?
You're able, but if you stack tunnels on top of each other,
Well, the New York
it creates more lanes.
New York City's subway system, it's kind of stacked on each other, right?
So I mean, like I think they're all
similar.
different.
I mean,
They're not
like
all
a
the same
tunnel
depth.
for cars. For cars.
Yeah, I think what he's trying to do is make an underground highway.
It was to create more lanes.
And what?
In more lanes in a smaller amount of space, and it's just like a more efficient design.
Wasn't it? Now, is that using normal cars, or would it be on a rail?
Yeah, it would be like for cars, but instead of having like 10-lane highways, you could create a 10-lane, but with tunnel systems, and use up in the same amount of with the same amount of space horizontally, but more space vertically.
Yes, but I'm asking, what is, or is it going to be like cars on rails, or is it just going to be a normal highway?
A road.
It's a normal highway.
But it's like the concept of like imagine like a 10-lane highway, right?
Yes.
Imagine if it was imagine 100-lane highway. How much fucking space that would take up. But then underneath is just ground that's not being used. So if you created that 100-lane highway by just going vertically and going underground, it would take up not even a fraction of the amount of space in terms of usability, because the underground is going to just be filled with dirt anyway and not be used anyway. So why not just put the roads there instead of taking up the air that could be used for trees and nature or buildings?
I mean, the thing is, there are still things underground. There's sewers, there's electrical cables that run underground.
Yeah,
like,
but
not to the same extent as a
obviously
highway, but it's still there.
it's just to say like to plan. Obviously, you'd plan around that, but it's just saying like there's things he's pointing out. It's like why are we being so inefficient? Like yeah, 100 years ago we couldn't build underground tunnels, but now we can build that. So why stick to the old things when we can just progress and do things way more efficiently because we have that capability?
But
it's like start to be like,
but who really wants to drive down 100 lanes, like 100 lanes down underneath the earth? Who wants to be that far down?
I mean, I guess, but it's like,
how would you even get down?
It would be, I don't know if it was like a 10-lane highway 10 times, so you'd go down 10 layers. But I mean, it would just be like you would just, you know how in like cities there's parking garages that climb up and spiral up?
Yes.
Yeah.
It would probably just spiral down.
But also, what about the argument that adding more lanes to a highway doesn't necessarily reduce congestion? It just kind of attracts more people to it. So, like, would it really help?
I mean, 100 lanes?
I think it would help.
It would attract more people, but to the point when it's like, it comes to a point where there's just so much room that it's a lot easier to get through.
And here's another thing. When you have to get off the underground tunnel, that's 100 lanes of traffic merging onto the outside of a 5-lane road.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there'd be probably, I don't know. It would take a lot of imagine it, but with the same infrastructure as our highway system today, as in each lane on each different level had exits and everything. It would take a lot of building, but it's just saying like if you put the same amount of effort into this system as we put into the U.S.'s like highway system, you could probably create something ridiculously efficient.
Okay. But now I have another question. What would happen?
Lay it on me.
Is it like is it going to go for miles and miles? Like, is it planning to take it cross country?
He was just kind of posting about it on Twitter. It was just some proposed ideas. It wasn't like something like, oh, we're doing this. But I mean, maybe you could put it cross country. We have highways that go from New Jersey to California.
Yes.
Why don't we have tunnels there?
If you have
an underground system throughout the entire United States.
There's really no point to have a tunnel go across the entire United States, because like the same level of congestion that's in LA or New York doesn't necessarily span the entire length of the country. Because I mean, plenty of, like, think about Route 80. Like, there's plenty of points throughout Route 80, like in the Midwest, that are just almost empty a lot of the time.
Well, I mean, think about this. If we put everything underground, imagine if we had our highway system underground, and instead of the highway system on the surface, we replaced it with like nature reserves. I mean, like, what if like the issues caused with infrastructure, like the negatives of it, were taken away by putting them somewhere where it wouldn't be disturbing the surface?
But
if you take away some of the negatives, you could replace it with, you could have, imagine if all of the highways were replaced with something else. You could put anything there but still have the same system. Because you can have a highway underground, but you can't have like a forest.
At the same time, like, where there's a negative, like say where there was a highway, can you really just erase that? Or like where there was a town, like, or like an oil spill, like think about Chernobyl. Like, you can't erase what happened there.
Well, yeah,
like,
but
I mean, yeah, like
that's
granted,
because
the highway
of the radiation. I don't think a highway is given off cancerous radiation for 1,000 years.
Yeah, but still, the highway is still a filthy place. Like, it's still covered in
this is not something that
oil leaks, rubber, all that.
Well, yeah, now we're just hypothesizing if it were to go cross country and become a thing. But my main question I wanted to ask before is, if it was underground all the way from LA to New York, what would happen when you have to stop at a rest area?
Well, either you'd have to come above ground, or they'd have to have the accommodations underground.
Yeah, but imagine like towns underground.
Fuck yeah.
It also
You know
means
how
no sunlight.
fucking metal that would be?
Yeah, but wouldn't you go crazy from all that lack of sunlight, though?
Yeah,
Well,
but
this
at
is
the
a-
same time, see, I think that he would need to make it like a rocket-powered rail highway system. You know how cool it'd be if all of them were just kind of, you could get from LA to New York in like a day instead of 4.
Imagine if they were able, like, it was like the speed of a fucking jet.
Yeah, then we could do it in like 5,
4
6
hours.
yeah. And then
It would probably cost less because you didn't need fucking jet fuel.
Well, if you're talking about making a rocket that goes underground, yeah, you'd still need jet fuel.
Well, yeah, but you wouldn't have to keep it in the air.
well, no, I'm saying it would be like how the subway works.
So a train.
Yeah, I guess an underground train. Now we're really
But why put it underground?
because it'd be 100
It takes
trains.
up. It's. I don't know.
I don't.
It's just the concept is underground. It's like there wasn't that space wasn't being used. It's like if you can put something in a space that's not going to be used for other stuff anyway, what's the sense of putting it somewhere else? Like, why wouldn't you put it where why would you put the highway on the surface and nothing underground, where you could just put the highway underground and put something else on the surface that couldn't have gone underground?
True. But what do you think about his other source of travel? The rocket thing he was trying to build? How you could be able to get into a rocket in New York and fly to LA in a few hours?
That's cool. What's the benefit of doing that over getting in a plane and flying to LA?
Well, the plane, the way the rocket would work is it would actually go out of the atmosphere, so there'd be no friction. So you'd be able to travel a lot faster from one place to another. And it would be like, it would take a half hour to get from here to LA or something like that. And what do you call it? The friction of using a rocket, there'd be no friction in space once you leave the atmosphere, so it'd be able to speed up the actual time frame of how long it would take to get from here by New York City to LA, which I think he said he'd be able to get it down to around a half hour. And the only thing with this type of travel, though, it would be a lot more expensive because, you know, you'd be riding on a rocket. So that's one of the cons.
Yeah, it's almost like, the thing is that we can already get to LA in a couple of hours from New York. Is it like, how much of a need do we need to change that we can get across the country in a handful of hours? How much do we need? Is there a need to do it that much faster?
I don't really, at least not from like New York to LA. I don't think. Like maybe like, say if you wanted to go to Australia or something, because I mean that's like a 40-hour flight. That's
Okay,
significantly longer. So if you could
You're
shorten
right.
that significantly,
Yeah, like he said he would be able to shorten that to maybe like everything would be under an hour. You'd be able to get from one point to another point on the globe within an hour.
that'd be pretty cool.
Okay. You know what, though? That is efficient. Never mind. You're right. I'm completely. I said, I was like coming at you with my contradictions, and you were like, actually sit your bitch ass down, and corrected me. So congratulations, Miles.
Hey, you're welcome.
I think that's all we got time for. Thanks for tuning into our ramble. This has been 12 Feet Deep. My name is Antonio.
My name's Derek.
My name is Miles.
See you next time.